Hey everybody, this is Noah back again for another episode. Today is episode 13 of the Thought Bubble series, and I'm going to give you behind this is a short version of it. Basically, I had episode 13 recorded, and then I was booting up on the PC, and I was like, this is great. I usually upload all my videos at night, and then I schedule them for the morning. That's kind of just how things roll. And so I was like, this is going to be fine. And I look at the file and the audio is awful and doesn't work and the file's corrupted and I am loving life right now. So unfortunately, this is going to be kind of like a reiteration of what I'm going to say. I don't know if it's going to be like super accurate, but it's still going to we're still going to talk about the same thing anyway. And I might cover something new that I didn't in the first time, but yeah, today is kind of like a re-recording. I don't know what it's going to be. But anyway, today we are in the company shirt. I think this is the first time I've worn this. This is my company logo. They're kind of cool, but sometimes they make me angry. Anyway, today's episode is kind of touching on the idea that I had of like waiting for like life's too short to wait for the perfect time. And I think what I mean by that is that a lot of times, I think it's hard to say and a hard idea to grapple with because um I'm not saying to like force things because I think you can get into a really unhealthy zone where if you're just trying to force things to happen and be like, especially if like it has to do with like a job or there's like some things you can force. I think jobs are like one thing, but like hobbies or interests. Let's say like you have a friend that's super interested in golf. You're not really interested in golf, but they you really want to hang out with them and you're like, let me force myself to play golf, even though it's like something that I don't enjoy. You're just gonna like go out there and like hate it. You know what I mean? And like the vibes are gonna be low, and you're just not gonna enjoy it. And I think the same thing can be said for like anything in life, whether it's like if you go to go grab dinner with your friends, you always try to make sure that like everybody's involved in like choosing a spot because like the worst thing you can do is force yourself to try and eat something that you don't want to eat, and then you're just kind of like you feel bad, and then by you feeling bad, then your friends feel bad, and then it's just a whole process. You know what I mean? And like you just cause a lot of like unhealthiness for yourself by like trying to force things. But I think what I meant was a lot of times we try to wait for life to give us opportunities. I think especially let's say like in the business world, right? When you're like trying to make relationships with other people in different companies, like some people are like pretty forward and like will come up and talk to you and like give you the business card and like talk to you about like what you do for your job and etc. But like a lot of times you do have to go out there and like market yourself, like especially in like I think about like in college when you're at like a job fair or something like that or like a career fair or anything like that, like you have to go up to the booth or you have to sign up for it first and then you have to go to the booth and then you have to give them your like resume and like talk to them and do all these things. Like if you just sit around and wait for those people to come knocking on your door, like you miss out on so many like opportunities, I feel like. And I think the biggest example is kind of the one that I talked about previously, where I had the episode on how I mentioned that I met this other creator. His name's Preston Rack, who was super cool. That opportunity never comes if I don't put myself out there and kind of put my thoughts out there and like am brave and kind of chase something that I really wanted to do personally. And by doing so, I feel like there's so many doors that just kind of like are open to you. You just have to step through them. And that if you wait for people to come knocking on your door to whether it's like offer you a job, to be your friend or whatever, if you're waiting for people, then like you miss out on so many opportunities and so many stories and so many experiences that like you would otherwise not have. And all it takes is just kind of like to ask, and I think it's hard to say, especially for people with social anxiety, because there was definitely a period where I had and still kind of have to an extent like this anxiety of going up and talking to people and like opening up about like my experiences in my life. But like I think that's something I'm trying to work on, of course, with this channel. But I think it's super important to remember that like one, to always stay within your comfort zone. If you feel yourself like spreading yourself too thin or pushing yourself too far, like by no means does it mean like you're supposed to ignore that and like just keep pushing forward because you need to experience new things. Like that's not what I'm trying to say per se. Like you just gotta know your boundary first off. The second thing is also, I think a big value in knowing how big your social battery is, or like what exactly you're looking for, because once you have like set boundaries or set ideologies, then you can kind of use that as a baseline. Because like for me, one thing that another like anecdotal story is like in physics, right? Like I used to be really, really bad at physics. I had no clue what was going on. I was like way in over my head, and I was like working really hard every day, but I was able to get through it. And then I think that was like something that was important for me, because it kind of set a baseline of like, okay, like this is the most of like workload that I can do for a class ever. And like this is like the upper threshold. But like without taking that class and without taking that chance, I'm never gonna like like know what I'm really capable of. And I think there is some value in pushing your boundaries and being able to find where like your upper ceiling is. But once you do have an idea of like where that is, like don't exceed it. Just play within your comfort zone. If you're not comfortable doing it, don't do it. But if you are comfortable and are willing to kind of push yourself a little bit further, there's so much value and so many more experiences that you can have. And I think like waiting around for life to just like work itself out. Yes, it does work in some cases. I think there's a lot of times where this idea of going out and getting it can be kind of confused for like having control over your life. Cause I think a lot of it sounds like, well, um, if you're telling me to go out and get it, like I should have like control over things, and like you want to force things to happen. And it's like, that's not how it really works. It's kind of hard to say. It's like it's such like a delicate balance of like, you know, not waiting around for things to happen for you, and to go out there and chase opportunities, chase relationships, chase experiences. But also at the same time, it's like when things don't work out, or maybe might not work in your favor, let's just say like you get declined from a job, or like the person that you wanted to be friends with doesn't really want to be friends with you, et cetera, right? Like to not get discouraged and to not try and force other people or external factors to like bend to your will, because a lot of times it's just not possible. Everyone has their own kind of experiences, and everyone has their own set of values and social batteries, and trying to force yourself or force other people to be a certain way or like act a certain way or like the same things you like is just not really healthy, and not really like a possible thing that can happen, I think. It just like think about it the other way of like, if somebody were to try and force me to do things that I don't want to do, like one, crime possible. We do not like crime. We hate crime on this channel. And the other thing too is like, it's just like the person is not really gonna like you for you if you just force them to fit some sort of ideology. It's just you don't really know the real person that you're talking to. So I think that's like a super, super big thing. And I think another thing on the idea of just like waiting around for things, a lot of times I think I found myself in the past too of like waiting for like, I don't know if like Goldilocks zone is the right word, but it's kind of like waiting for like the porridge to be just right. Like sometimes it's going to be a little bit hot, sometimes it's going to be a little bit cold. But like if you wait so long for conditions to be perfect, then like you miss out on so many opportunities again. I think the biggest thing is like when you think about like a workout plan, you know what I mean? Let's say that like you want to run a marathon or something like this, right? And you're training, you're training, you're training. If you wait for only days that are sunny, like perfectly sunny, no clouds in the sky, like, yes, you might have two really, really good quality training days, but also at the same time, it's like you miss out on all the other days where like maybe it's a little partly cloudy, maybe it's windy, maybe it's like a little bit drizzling, a little bit, you miss out on all of those experiences where like let's say it comes to race day and it is rainy, like you don't know, like you haven't run in the rain before, so you have no clue like what to expect, you might slip. But if you are like practicing and you have like days that are rainy, or like have days that are like super sunny, or et cetera, like days that basically where you're not like 100% confident, like if you have those kind of days where like conditions aren't like perfectly just right and you're still willing to go out there and try, like one, that's tippable. It takes a lot of strength to do that. And I think like it takes a lot of courage to not just wait around for things to be exactly perfect, or like life to align itself, but I think it like relates to the idea that I had. I think I mentioned, well, I mentioned it in the previous video, which you would have heard if I like didn't mess up the audio. But like I think one of the things that I think back to is like in space ethics, which was a class that I took in sorry, my voice is going, but a class that I took in college. where um basically the idea was like if you have a new planet and you're trying to put humans on it, if you how long do you have to wait basically to explore, or like how much of the planet do you have to explore for you to deem it safe, because like what if there's like an organism that hates humans and eats humans? We don't like that. And like how much of the planet basically like do you have to explore and deem safe, and like how much of the life forms you have to deem safe, like for it to be like considered like okay for humans to live on. And like it was a really interesting topic because even if you explore 99.99999% of like the whole planet, that like small 0.00001% chance or like organisms that you don't explore, if those are human hurting or harming, like it is chalked. You know what I mean? But like there's a certain point where you spend so much time trying to make things perfect and like waiting for the perfect moment to do things that like at a certain point you just have to pull the trigger, because like if you wait for so long and like you're trying to like get these perfect conditions, you're trying to do it, you miss out. One, you kind of miss out on the opportunity, but two, also at the same time it's like it's such a waste of time, and you like sit around waiting to do something. And I think a lot of times it can occur, at least for me, I noticed that like this kind of idea of like waiting for perfect moments was like happening. I don't know like when or how. I just kind of like noticed like looking around kind of at my life and like what I really wanted to achieve, and like kind of when I had figured out really like what I wanted for my life and like what I wanted to chase, like there's so many opportunities in the past. Of course, like there's like some regret, but like there's nothing I can do about it now. But like of times where I was kind of just like waiting for the perfect time for things to happen, or like waiting around for people or waiting around for things. And it's like I spent so much time waiting that like I never really spent time chasing. And I kind of like missed on a lot of opportunities. So I've been trying to be a bit more like, of course, staying within my comfort zone, doing only things that I'm interested in, doing things that I'm comfortable doing, but also at the same time, like just trying to be a bit more open minded to things and like going out there and getting it, and basically not waiting for like life to hand it to me on a silver platter, or like waiting for perfect days, to like the same thing like going bowling, like there's some days I wake up and I'm like not as like, I don't know if nimble's the right word, but like I don't know. There's like been a couple days where like a couple muscles been sore or stiff or whatever, but it's like I feel like I'm able to bowl through it. And like that's gonna happen, in like leagues when I'm playing. Like if I have like a ping or a cramp or something, like if something isn't like 100% ready, I still have to go out there and play, and I still gotta perform. So um I think there's so much you learn from just taking that chance. And if you spend so much time waiting around and just waiting and waiting for like things to be like exactly perfect, or like things to be exactly as you want it to be, I feel like it's just like an infinite waiting game, and you waste so much time and you lose out on so many things. And I feel like a lot of it can come from like the trap of like for people who have like really, I don't know if lofty aspirations is the right word to say, but I think like have a lot of different goals or ideologies, because you kind of like have your hand in a every bucket, but like by like trying to carry everything, you kind of like don't master any. Like if you try to carry too many things and like too many things in your hand, like you like drop the whole thing. That's basically kind of what I'm trying to like say is like a lot of times when you have a lot of goals and a lot of aspirations and you don't necessarily like pick one or two to focus on, or like of course like everybody's different, but it's just like something that I found in my life is like when I have like a lot of ideas, or like kind of like jump from like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, like all these different ideas, like when I jump through all these ideas, like I find myself more apt to like putting things on hold and like waiting for things. And you know by trying to like do all these things, I end up actually doing none of them. So I don't know if that's related, but I think in general, I guess just like the main takeaways from today. um Sorry, my voice is going. I had like a Today was a long day, but basically, I think while it's really important to stay within your kind of comfort zone and do things that you're comfortable doing, and not push yourself too hard. I think there is value in not waiting around for life to just give you opportunities, or like people to present opportunities to you on a silver platter. And like there's so much value in just going out there and getting it, because I think there's so many more opportunities and experiences that you can have in your life and like feel fulfilled, that you would otherwise miss out on had you just not like taken that chance to talk to somebody, or go up and talk to the recruiter or whatever it might be. In my case, it was like send in my form where I'm talking about how comfortability doesn't equal comfortable. Or whoa, sorry, long day. But how comfortability isn't a necessarily like a sign of a healthy relationship, like stuff like that. Like sending in that form was a risk that I took, but it was like something that I was comfortable doing, and I felt like I wanted to put my ideas out there, and it turns out it ended up working well, and I got to meet some really really cool people, and I think that's just like one example, but I'm trying to be a bit more open minded in my life and like not waiting around for like the perfect time for things and just going out there and getting it. So yeah, you the viewer, go out there and get it. If you want it, chase it. Um, keep within your boundaries, both mentally, physically, financially, whatever it might be, but do it. Go do it. But yeah, um, that's pretty much it for today. Sorry again. This is if it like sounds like I re-recorded this because I did. I had to. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Uh, leave a comment down below. I always enjoy like reading the comments. I've gotten like a couple people who have left really really good insights on my videos, and I'm really really appreciative of those people for taking the time out of their day. So if you got an opinion, I want to hear it. I don't really care if you agree or disagree. Like, I'm open to everything, and it's just nice to hear people's opinions. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you'll be here for another one of these thought bubbles. Thanks for watching.